What happens when a young man is denied service just because of his hat? Baron Trump and his friend Ethan Walker step into the restaurant, unaware that their lunch is about to turn into a viral controversy. As Baron holds the door open, the manager, Felicity Hartman, spots his red "Make America Great Again" cap, and her expression darkens. She leans toward the hostess, whispering something, and within moments, the tension in the room shifts. Customers pause mid-bite, their eyes flickering toward the unfolding scene. Felicity strides toward Baron, her face set with determination, while the restaurant falls silent. Uneasy glances are exchanged, forks hover in midair, and an air of discomfort spreads. What started as a simple meal quickly escalates into a heated debate about fairness and respect, one that will soon take the internet by storm. Baron Trump and his friend Ethan Walker stepped into LaToil Bluey, a cozy restaurant in the heart of Chicago, the lunchtime crowd buzzing with conversation. Baron, dressed sharply in a well-tailored blue suit, looked every bit the young man used to attention, but it was the bright red "Make America Great Again" cap perched on his head that caught the eye. As the two friends made their way to the door, Baron holding it open for Ethan, a shift in the atmosphere rippled through the room. Felicity Hartman, the restaurant manager known for her sharp eye and zero-tolerance approach to anything she deemed controversial, immediately noticed the hat. Her expression soured, her face tightening as she crossed her arms. Without a word, she leaned toward the hostess, her voice low but stern as she whispered something in her ear. The hostess, clearly uncomfortable, glanced nervously toward Baron, then back at Felicity, before nodding reluctantly. Felicity's gaze never left Baron, her disapproval palpable as she watched the two friends settle into their seats. The hostess, clearly hesitant, made her way toward Baron, her steps quick and uncertain as the tension in the room began to build. The conversation slowed around them, and eyes drifted from the tables to the unfolding drama, everyone in the room sensing that something was about to unfold that would disrupt their peaceful lunch. The hostess hesitated for a moment before approaching Baron and Ethan, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. "I'm afraid we can't serve you while you're wearing that hat," she said, her eyes flickering nervously between Baron and Felicity, who was standing off to the side, arms crossed and watching intently. Baron looked up, confusion flashing across his face. "Why not?" he asked, his voice calm but laced with curiosity. It was then that Felicity, her patience already worn thin, stepped forward with a stern expression, her voice sharp and firm. "That hat is offensive," she declared, her eyes narrowing as she addressed Baron directly. "We don't want to cause discomfort to our customers." The words hit the air like a slap, and Baron's confusion deepened. He exchanged a brief glance with Ethan, who, sensing the rising tension, leaned in and quietly whispered, "Maybe we should just go." But Baron didn't budge. He sat up straight, his posture calm, his voice steady as he responded, "It's just a hat. I came here for a meal, like everyone else. I'm not causing any trouble." His words, simple and measured, cut through the tension in the room. The surrounding diners watched closely, sensing the escalating confrontation. Felicity's face flushed with irritation at Baron's unshaken demeanor, her hands now planted firmly on her hips. "Then go somewhere else," she snapped, her voice growing more aggressive with each word. "Leave, or I'll call security." The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath as Felicity's words echoed through the room. The murmur of conversation stopped, and every eye was now fixed on Baron. Ethan's fingers twitched nervously, but Baron remained still, his gaze unwavering. He wasn't backing down, not without a fight. He raised an eyebrow, then took a slow breath, his voice unwavering as he repeated, "I just want to eat my lunch. I'm not leaving because of a hat." The intensity in the air was palpable. The few remaining whispers from nearby tables quieted as patrons waited to see how this would play out. As the tension in the room reached its peak, Baron's expression remained calm, but a shift in his demeanor suggested he wasn't going to let this slide. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, his fingers moving with purpose. With a quiet click, he began recording. "You're refusing to serve me because of my hat?" he asked, his voice steady, but the question hung in the air like a challenge. Felicity's face turned crimson, her temper flaring as she saw the phone pointed in her direction. "Turn that off!" she barked, her voice sharp and laced with anger. Her fists clenched at her sides, and her eyes bore into Baron with growing hostility. The room, which had been filled with quiet murmurs, now fell into complete silence. Every set of eyes in the restaurant was locked on the unfolding drama. The clink of silverware on plates stopped, and the low hum of background chatter faded away as the customers braced for the next moment. Then from across the room, a voice rang out, an older man with salt and pepper hair, Mr. Green, who had been quietly watching from his table. He stood, his eyes filled with quiet authority. "This young man isn't causing trouble. You are," he said firmly, addressing Felicity. The words struck a chord in the room, and a ripple of murmurs spread among the other patrons. Slowly, one by one, more voices rose in defense of Baron. A woman at the window table spoke up. "It's just a hat. What's the problem?" Another man nodded in agreement. "No one's being disruptive here." The growing chorus of support made Felicity's face twist with frustration. She was losing control, and she knew it. Desperately trying to assert her authority, she raised her voice once more, this time even sharper than before. "This is my restaurant," she declared, but her words fell flat against the rising tide of voices. The customers, emboldened by the solidarity, began to turn their attention away from Felicity, their support for Baron becoming more palpable with each passing second. As the tension in the restaurant reached a boiling point, the door swung open, and in walked Mildred Bradford, the owner of LaToil Bluey. She had been alerted by a staff member about the disturbance and arrived just in time to witness the escalating drama. Mildred, a woman in her early 50s with a calm but firm presence, surveyed the scene with a sharp eye. Without hesitation, she strode directly toward Felicity, her expression one of clear authority. "You refuse service because of his hat?" she asked, her voice calm but with an edge of disbelief. Felicity, still flustered and caught off guard, immediately tried to justify her actions. "It's not just a hat," she stammered. "It's a political statement, and I didn't want to cause discomfort to other customers." But Mildred wasn't having it. She cut her off with a firm but measured tone. "The only problem here is how you handled this. Did you stop to think about how this reflects on our business? We can't have a place where customers are treated like this over something so trivial." The words hit Felicity like a slap, and she stood there speechless, her earlier anger faltering in the face of Mildred's calm rebuke. Turning to Baron, Mildred softened her tone, her gaze genuine. "I'm very sorry for how you've been treated. This isn't how we do things here." The apology was brief, but it carried the weight of real accountability. The room, which had been holding its breath, now exhaled in relief. A few customers, who had been watching the exchange, began to clap softly. The applause grew as others joined in, their approval loud and clear. Mildred's steady leadership had turned the tide, and it was obvious to everyone in the room that she had restored a sense of fairness to the situation. Mildred turned back to Felicity, her expression hardening. "Go home. We'll talk later," she said, her voice unwavering. The command was clear and final, and without a word, Felicity turned on her heel and stormed off, her heels clicking sharply on the tile floor as she disappeared into the kitchen. The moment Felicity was gone, the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. The tension that had gripped the room lifted, and the hum of conversation gradually returned as customers resumed their meals, some exchanging quiet words about the incident. Mildred, sensing the need to smooth things over, turned back to Baron and Ethan with a smile. "Please, have a seat anywhere you like," she said warmly. "Your meal is on the house." But Baron, ever composed, politely shook his head. "We just wanted to be treated fairly," he said, his voice steady but full of conviction. Mildred nodded, clearly impressed with his maturity, and gestured for them to enjoy the rest of their meal as they saw fit. Just as they began to settle in, an older man from a nearby table, James, stood and made his way over. He was a distinguished-looking gentleman with salt and pepper hair and a kind smile. "You handled that well, son," he said as he approached. "A lot of people, even older than you, might have backed down, but you stood your ground with respect. That takes integrity." Baron looked up at him, a little surprised but appreciative. "Thanks," he replied. James extended his hand, his smile widening. "By the way, my name is James. I'm a lawyer, but more importantly, I believe in fairness and justice. If you ever need anything, you can count on me." Baron shook his hand, a grateful smile on his face. "Thanks, Mr. James. I appreciate it." As James returned to his table, the restaurant returned to its usual rhythm, but the lesson in fairness and respect had already made an impression on everyone who had witnessed it. As the afternoon passed and Baron and Ethan finished their meal, the ripple effects of the incident had already begun to spread beyond the walls of LaToil Bluey. Several customers who had witnessed the confrontation had discreetly recorded parts of the exchange, and before long, the videos began circulating online. Within hours, clips of Felicity's confrontation with Baron, his calm demeanor, her escalating anger, and the eventual resolution, had gone viral. The video sparked widespread discussions across social media platforms, fueling debates about freedom of expression, respect for others, and discrimination. Commentators weighed in from all sides, but one thing was clear: the video had struck a nerve. The public was engaged, and the incident had become a symbol of standing up against unfair treatment. Recognizing the impact the situation was having, Mildred Bradford quickly issued a public statement. In the video, she apologized to Baron for the way he had been treated, reaffirming the restaurant's commitment to inclusivity and respect for all customers. "This is not how we do business here," Mildred stated, her voice firm and sincere. She also addressed the situation with Felicity, confirming that Felicity had been fired. "We do not tolerate behavior that undermines our core values," Mildred said, making it clear that such actions would not be tolerated under her watch. The response was met with praise from the public. Many expressed admiration for Mildred's quick and decisive actions, and her commitment to fairness won LaToil Bluey widespread recognition. Customers and online users alike applauded the restaurant for standing up for its values and treating everyone with dignity, regardless of their political views. LaToil Bluey, once just another spot in the city, had now become a symbol of resilience and fairness, and the restaurant's reputation soared as a place where everyone could feel welcome. As the video nears its end, the screen fades to a reflective voiceover. "This story isn't just about a hat. It's about standing up for what's right, no matter how small the issue may seem," the narrator says, a thoughtful tone emphasizing the deeper message of the story. "What would you have done in Baron's situation?" the voice continues, encouraging viewers to reflect on their own reactions in the face of injustice. "We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your perspective." The voice then shifts to a call to action. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Finally, the voice wraps up with warmth and gratitude. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more powerful stories that inspire change. The screen fades to black, leaving the viewer with a sense of thoughtfulness and anticipation for what's to come.